And welcome back to the Hot Lap Downforce fanatics. At least that's what we are going to be talking about. Downforce and why it is very important in Spain, because we have that new F1 technical regulation and we are going to get into the super serious world of flexible wings. So, here's the tea. Some F1 teams, I don't really want to name names, but they rhyme with Fred Bull. They've been very much complaining about other people's Flexi Wings. They might rhyme with McLaren. No, that is the team that many people are actually talking about. So, what does it mean? Well, at low speed, these wings seem to stay pretty chill. However, at high speed, the wings, had they not been attached to the car, they'll be like, hello, I'm very much out of here. Some of them flexing so much. But here's why it matters, yeah? The wings, they give downforce. The car sticks to the ground like your phone to your face at 3 a.m. when you're doom scrolling and really should be sleeping, getting up for work. However, they stick to the ground, and these wings stick to the ground so much they're so efficient, in theory, at the very least. We could be looking at a car driving on the ceiling. That's the amount of downforce they give. However, and here's the but, and I'll explain a bit better later. But in short, when they flex, the car gets less drag on the straights and more grip in the corners. It's like having your cake and eating it, and then strapping a turbo to that cake. So the FIA saw this and went, no, not on my Sunday, that Sunday being the Spanish Grand Prix. So starting this new weekend, the technical directive says front wings get pressed with 1,000 newtons of force. I don't know how much that is. I imagine some of you don't as well. Well, just as an idea, that's like putting a grand piano on your car's nose. I mean, that's pretty heavy. Now, if the wing with this hypothetical grand piano bends more than 10 millimeters, you are in trouble, you're disqualified, you are done. So I imagine the F1 teams are going to be like, yeah, we're going to make sure we're not done. Rear wings, as you know, they are already under lockdown. The FIA has already said we're going to strap 75 kilos on you and measure with laser precision. And because nothing says F1 like measuring wing bendiness with the same tech used in alien autopsies. They're very paranoid about it. Not as paranoid, though, as Fred Bull. So with this new technical directive, it's quite understandable that some teams may well be affected, some don't. We, if I'm honest, can kind of make a prediction, but I don't know which teams are going to be affected. We're going to have to realistically wait till qualifying for the Spanish Grand Prix on the Saturday. We're going to have a kind of an idea in the practice session, but the big rumours are, obviously, McLaren, that if Red Bull is to be believed. And McLaren are at the forefront, or they were especially last year and the beginning of this year, of utilising this flexible wing technology to optimise aero efficiency. So they have been very, very good at reducing drag on the straights while maintaining downforce in the corners. And this new directive, as you know, it's going to mandate those stricter tests. So the big question is, how much is it going to affect McLaren? People suggest it may well. Now, when you look at the Mercedes, people have suggested it may affect the Mercedes more. They've been noted for innovative wing designs that have impacted by these new requirements. I think Mercedes themselves have even said, with Toto Wolff coming out, yes, they are going to impact us. Now, some people have suggested this might not be as prominent as McLaren. Some people have suggested more. But the teams it's going to benefit less, at least at the front, we think, is Ferrari. And a lot of people are reporting that Ferrari have had a lot more, vastly, let's say, more conservative approach to that front wing flexibility. Team principal Fred Vasseur indicated that these new regulations could serve as a game changer, potentially levelling that playing field and allowing Ferrari to capitalise on their existing wing designs without significant modifications. Red Bull, on the other hand, they've been vocal critics of these flexible wings. Why? There were rumours that Red Bull was behind the scenes working particularly hard at perfecting their flexible wings, because the FIA pretty much said we're not going to do anything about it until 2026. But then they changed their mind. But then Red Bull have also come out and thrown their toys out the pram about this. Understandably, if you feel teams are cheating, you're going to do that. So this new directive then may be quite advantageous. Team Principal Christian Horner, he's acknowledged that while the changes might not drastically alter that competitive order, it could influence factors like tyre degradation, hello McLaren, and overall aerodynamic performance, areas where Red Bull seeks to gain an edge. And, well, Imola they didn't need to, but Monaco they weren't as fast. So in summary, it's suspected that McLaren and Mercedes could be most affected, although McLaren have come out and said there will be no change. And the potential beneficiaries, from the top levels point of view, is Ferrari and Red Bull, which means the Spanish Grand Prix is going to serve as a critical juncture to observe how these changes are going to affect everyone. And I'm going to find it absolutely fascinating. So why are these flexible wings so important? Well, as you know, wings in Formula 1, as we've already explained, are a massive deal. But a flexible wing is a smart wing. Think about that. So at high speeds, it's going to bend downward or flattening out. And that essentially means less drag, more top speed, and it's kind of like a DRS the whole time when you go down those straights. If you remember specifically Baku last year in Oscar Piastri, there's a big argument that the only reason he won that race is because of his mini DRS, or so it was suggested by McLaren. So as you know, less drag means faster on those straights, and when the car's slow for a corner, the wing pops back up, giving you that full grip again. It's basically shape-shifting aero. Think Transformers, but with extra wind. So the FIA said, obviously, this is too clever, we need to do something about it, which we've already spoken about. So that seemingly explains it, but as I keep saying, we're not going to know until the Spanish Grand Prix. But until then, if you made it to the end of this relatively short video, give us a subscribe. That would be absolutely fantastic. Hit the subscribe button like Max Verstappen hits apexes. Stay safe, and we'll speak to you soon.